A very good evening to you. We are joined by Mr. Mike D. Alwis here at the Racecourse Ground at the eve of the Asia Rugby Sevens, which is happening over the weekend. A very good evening to you, sir, and thank you on behalf of Sri Lanka Rugby for sparing some time and joining us for this brief discussion.
Good evening, and I thank you for inviting me for this interview. We'll talk about what happened in the past. I played rugby a long time ago, and I'll try and fill you in as we go along.
Yes, Mr. Mike D. Alwis, of course, he's from the upcountry. First played for Trinity College Kandy way back in 1956 to 58, if I'm correct. Any memories you have playing for Trinity in those 3 years, Mr. Davis?
Yes. The 56 team of Trinity is famous because it produced, I think, 9 Sri Lankan players and 2 captains. The 2 captains were Nimal Maralande and myself. We captained Sri Lanka again in the 1960s. I captained in 67, and I think he captained 2 years before me, or in maybe 65. I'm not too certain. But anyway, we both captained, and we had 9 players in the Sri Lankan side. And that year, Trinity was unbeaten, and no one crossed our line. We won the Bradley Shield, and we went on after the season to play against some of the upcountry clubs, and we didn't even lose to them. So you can imagine the caliber of that side. That's a lasting memory.
At that time, during that era, 56 to 58, around how many schools would have there been playing rugby? I know Royal as well. Earlier we had a chat with Mr. Stanley Nambu. He said Zaira was playing rugby, but probably a few schools would have been added on to that.
Yes, I think altogether, at the time I was playing, I think there were only 8 or 9 schools playing rugby. And it's great to see how rugby has developed now here in Sri Lanka, because we've got almost every school playing rugby now, and there's a wealth of talent. And I've been away for 34 years from this country, and I came back in 2012, and it was great to see how much rugby had developed in that time.
Going back after playing for Trinity successfully in those years, you went on to play for Kandy. If I'm correct, you captained Uwa in 1965 as well, and Dimbul in 1971. Any memories you can give us playing for those clubs up country?
Yeah, well, a lot of them who were playing for up-country clubs then, well, not a lot, but there were quite a few expats playing, mainly English guys who were planting up-country. We made lasting friendships. In fact, I went across to England to meet some of the people I played with, and I only came back this July. I spent nearly a month with a lot of them. Just to name a few, there was Mike Waring, John Boyd Moss. They've retired and they remember Sri Lanka and how much they enjoyed their rugby here. So there are lots of us who made lasting friendships playing rugby, and that alone is an incentive to play this game.
Going further, playing for Trinity, then for the upcountry teams, you went on to captain Sri Lanka in 1961, if I'm right. Beg your pardon, in 1967. And then you were involved in the first Asiad in Bangkok in 1971. I'm sure there will be a lot of memories of those good days, and especially the honor of captain in Sri Lanka.
Yes, it was a great honor. At that time, the main competition came from India, and we played in the All India tournament. the All India clubs that played uh, were from each of the states in India, and it was mainly made up of expats who were working either in the commercial sector in the main cities like Calcutta, or most of the other teams were from the plantation districts in India, and they were very good sides because they were almost all expats, and we were playing against big guys about the size of people who are playing international rugby now. So it was quite a challenge, and I was fortunate that the year I captained, we won the championship, the All India trophy, and our team comprised that year, I think, mainly Sri Lankans, and that may have been the first time that we had an all Sri Lankan side actually. So rugby from there has developed a lot, of course.
Just elaborating on that, like you said, rugby on there has developed a lot in Sri Lanka, and we have come a long way. But you mentioned all these states in India played rugby, and with a lot of foreigners involved. While Sri Lanka and the standards of Sri Lanka rugby grew, I think the standards of Indian rugby, had come down, because even currently you take, the standard of Sri Lanka rugby, we are playing at an Asian level, where India is still way below. What do you think the main reason was? Was it a sort of a decline because after that period the foreigners left and Indians itself didn't take up to rugby?
Yes, I think the decline came when the expats left the country, and Indians hadn't been interested in rugby. There were very few Indians who were playing. A few of the Indians who were in the plantations played. I could count on my fingers a number of Indians who actually played. So with the expats leaving, rugby died a natural death, and they didn't have a Indian Rugby Football Union as such at that time. It was mainly managed, rugby was mainly managed by those expats who were there. So when they left, the whole thing crumbled. But now I understand they are interested and they are beginning to build up. So we will have a lot of competition, I'm sure, in the near future from India.
Yes, definitely, I'm sure all sports India certainly catches up. You mentioned earlier, after these playing for Sri Lanka, etc., you went for overseas and you were away overseas quite a long time. But I've got to know that you continued your rugby. You played for the state of Sabah, I think, from 1978 to 80. And then the state of Sarawak, up to the age of 41, you continued playing the game. Something you could tell us about those rugby days playing overseas?
Yes, there again, a lot of the players in those two states were, we had at least 6 guys who were foreigners who were playing, and they pushed us along and encouraged rugby there, and it has caught on in Sarawak and Sabah. It was very enjoyable playing with them. I've made lifelong friends in the rugby fraternity in Sabah and Sarawak, and I think the game is growing even there, because I understand a Sri Lankan side went and played in the Borneo Cup. Yeah, Borneo Sevens, which was played in Sarawak, I think. We did have a tournament there called the Borneo Cup, and that was between Sabah, Sarawak, Brunei, the English forces in Brunei, and Shell. So we had 5 teams competing for this Borneo Cup. But I'm glad to see that it has developed now into Borneo Sevens as well. So it just shows how rugby is progressing now all over the world.
Definitely, it's catching up all over Asia, all over the world. It's a growing game, fast-moving game. After leaving the game of rugby, you took on another sport. I was told that you were very interested in long distance running, especially in the marathons. Can you tell us something about that?
Yes, well, when I left playing at the age of 41, I was looking for something else, some other sport. Well, I was based in some very remote areas, and I was clearing jungle and planting new plantations, and there wasn't much sport around those jungle areas to be played. So I thought I got to keep fit, and I started running. And well, I used to run 10-15 kilometers a day, and then I thought, well, why waste time? I might as well go in and start running long distance, and my goal was to run a marathon. So I started off training, and the training period, minimum period, I reckon, is about 4 to 5 months of training. And then I decided that I would take part in my first marathon, full marathon. It was an international, the KL, Kuala Lumpur International Marathon. And well, it was really hard going, and I managed to finish in a horrible time of 4 hours 10 minutes, I think, for the 42k marathon. I then decided this is disgraceful. I must bring this marathon time down. I was then running as a veteran, veteran class. I had reached the ripe old age of 50 odd, and I decided to bring down my time, and I set my goals at 3 hours 30 minutes, which was quite respectable actually for a guy over 50. So I trained, and I eventually brought down my time running the Penang International Marathon. Finally, I trained for the Sydney International and brought it down to 3 hours 32. So that kept me going. I did 9 marathons altogether, and then I couldn't find the time to train. And as you get older, you naturally get, tired of doing it.
Very, very proud moment. Also, just said it. Do you still follow rugby in Sri Lanka? Do you go to watch games, or do you watch on TV? Are you still loving the game as you did before?
Yes, well, I watch almost every game I can, and I don't watch it on TV. I like the atmosphere, watching it, live at the grounds.
We hope to see you over the weekend at the Asian Rugby Sevens happening here at the Racecourse grounds. If possible, the best Asian teams, women's and men's, will be action, and hope you will be able to join us.
Yes, I certainly will. And every time you played rugby here in Sri Lanka, international rugby, from the time I came back, I've been a keen follower.
Well, that's Mr. Mike D. Alwis for you, just giving us insight on those good memories of the good old days of rugby at Trinity, at Kandy, at Havelocks, upcountry, Sri Lanka, and overseas as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Mike D. Alwis, on behalf of Sri Lanka Rugby. Thank you for your time and joining us. We wish you best of luck for the future. Wish you good health, and we hope to see you much more in and around rugby in Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed chatting to you. I hope we meet again.